In 1980, a Toshiba engineer named Fujio Masuoka invented the technology sitting inside your phone, your laptop, your camera, and every USB stick in your junk drawer. His reward? A bonus worth a few $100s. That's it. For inventing a market now worth over $60 billion a year. Let that sink in for a second. The man who made the modern digital world physically possible got paid less than you'd spend on a decent pair of headphones. And the company he worked for didn't just underpay him, they buried his project. This is a story of how one of the most consequential inventions of the 20th century got smothered in its own crib by the company that owned it. And the engineer who built it spent decades watching other people get rich off his idea. His name was Fujio Masuoka. He worked at Toshiba in the late 70s and early 80s, back when Japanese electronics were eating the world. And he had an obsession. He wanted to build a memory chip that could hold data without electricity. A chip you could power off, throw in a drawer, come back to a year later, and find every single bit exactly where you left it. In 1980, he cracked it. He invented NAND flash memory, the exact technology that lets your phone remember your photos when the battery dies, the technology inside every solid-state drive on Earth, the technology that killed the floppy disk, the CD, the hard drive, and the cassette tape all at once. And here's where it gets dark. Toshiba didn't care. They looked at his invention, shrugged, and shoved it to the side. They were focused on DRAM, the memory that needs constant power. That was the cash cow. Flash memory was a curiosity, a side project, something a junior engineer was tinkering with in a corner. Masuoka kept pushing. He presented his work at a conference in San Francisco in 1984. And guess who was paying attention? Intel. The Americans saw what Toshiba refused to see. Within a few years, Intel had a flash memory division. They were pouring resources into it. They were building a future. Toshiba gave Masuoka a bonus. The reported figure, depending on who's telling the story, was somewhere in the range of a few $100s for an invention that would one day generate over $60 billion a year in global revenue. Every smartphone, every tablet, every dash cam, every game console, every server farm, all running on his idea. If this is the kind of story that makes your jaw drop, subscribe. I dig up these forgotten figures every week, and the rabbit hole only gets deeper. Now here's the part that really stings. Masuoka didn't just invent Flash, he invented it twice. The first version was called NOR Flash, useful but expensive. He went back to the lab and developed NAND Flash, the cheaper, denser version, the one that scales, the one that makes terabyte SSDs possible, the one that turned data storage from a luxury into something you carry around without thinking. And Toshiba still didn't move fast enough. They let competitors catch up. They let Samsung, a company that wasn't even in the conversation at the time, build an empire on flash memory. Samsung is now the largest flash manufacturer on the planet. They built their fortune on the back of an invention Toshiba owned and ignored. Think about that. The company that had the patent, the company that had the inventor, the company that had a decade head start. They lost. They lost to a Korean rival who simply took the idea seriously. And Masuoka, he watched it all happen from the inside. Imagine being the guy who drew the blueprint for the future, and your boss treats you like you're wasting company time. Imagine watching your invention show up in every device on Earth, and you can't even afford to retire on the royalties. Eventually, Masuoka left Toshiba. He became a professor at Tohoku University. He kept inventing, he kept publishing, but the recognition came slowly, and the money never really came at all. In 2006, more than 2 decades after his invention, he was awarded the IEE Morris N. Liebman Memorial Award, a prestigious honor, a piece of paper, a line on a resume. By that point, flash memory was already a multi-billion-dollar industry, and Masuoka had seen almost none of it. He sued Toshiba. He tried to claim a fair share of the profits from his invention. The case reportedly settled, and the terms weren't anywhere close to what his work was worth. A drop, a fraction of a percent of what flash memory had become. So why did this happen? Why would a company crush its own golden goose? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Big corporations are not built to recognize genius. They are built to protect existing revenue. Toshiba had a DRAM business. DRAM made money right now. Flash memory was speculative. It was risky, it was the future, and the future is always less profitable than the present, until suddenly it isn't. By the time Toshiba woke up, Samsung had eaten their lunch, their dinner, and their breakfast for the next 30 years, and Masuoka became something he never wanted to be. A cautionary tale, the patron saint of every engineer who's ever watched their idea get shelved by a manager who didn't understand it. There's a Japanese phrase, deru kui wa utareru. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. Masuoka stuck out. He had vision, he had drive. He had an invention that would reshape civilization, and the system around him hammered him flat, over and over, until he had no choice but to leave. Now here's the question that should haunt you. How many Masuokas are out there right now? How many quiet engineers in quiet labs are sitting on the next flash memory, the next breakthrough, the next $60 billion industry? And how many of them are being told to focus on something more practical by a boss who can't see past next quarter's earnings? Because the lesson of Fujio Masuoka isn't really about flash memory. It's about how easily the world misses the people who change it. It's about how invention and reward almost never travel together. It's about how the most important things often get built by people who die without ever being properly thanked. Every time you unlock your phone, you're using his invention. Every photo you take, every text you send, every app you open, it's all sitting on silicon that exists because Fujio Masuoka refused to give up on an idea his own company didn't want. He got a few $100s. The world got a revolution, and history almost forgot his name. So the next time someone tells you the system rewards genius, remember the engineer in the Toshiba lab in 1980, holding the future in his hands and being told to please get back to work on something more useful. If this story hit you, drop a like and subscribe. There are more forgotten geniuses waiting, and I'm not done digging them up.